It is fantasy football draft season. There are 5 players that we can't stop talking about. There's actually more, but we're going to do 5 and maybe some lanyap on today's edition of the Audible. Cecil Lammy, Sigmund Bloom, Adonai Mitchell, getting all of the talk and the conversation. You're seeing highlights from joint practices. You're seeing coaches' commentary. Again, I don't trust quarterback, either
Right,
one.
right.
But as far as like August, can't stop talking about it. Mitchell's at the top of the list.
Yeah, some of this is players that we can't stop talking about, which I guess Cecil is the whole NFL, right? And that's how we ended up here in these
Right,
seats right now.
right.
But also other people are talking about these players, and it doesn't always map directly to actionable fantasy football advice. But you do need to know that Adonai Mitchell is on track. Remember, Mitchell last year was thought of as a player with the ceiling of almost everybody who went ahead of him at wide receiver, except maybe, like Malik Neighbors. And then last year, inconsistency was a problem, inconsistency in the offense, but also Mitchell's play as a rookie. And we could talk about Jermaine Burton as a light version of this storyline, where it's like, was it coming? This is a player that talent was unquestioned. Some questions about, can he put it all together in the pros? First year, not putting it all together. Going into the second year, maybe he's putting it all together, which could be really spectacular in terms of talent. Now, we know that in this Colts pass offense, Michael Pittman's very good. I mean, we could do an exercise. What would we rank these guys in a different pass offense? In the Bengals pass offense, So this is certainly something that the Colts are probably the worst pass offense or fantasy value. So we're not saying go out and draft Adonai Mitchell. I mean, not that you're going to draft Alec Pierce, but that's probably, if Mitchell pushes his way onto the field, that's whose expense it comes at. But this does make Anthony Richardson, who's not won the job yet, okay, but I think he can only lose the job. I think that Daniel Jones can't really win the job. Anthony Richardson can either lose it or just become the starter, because that's what makes sense. If he's throwing to an ascendant Adonai Mitchell, Alec Pierce, who we know can go get the deep ball, Michael Pittman, a good possession receiver, Josh Downs, who can really do everything, and now Tyler Warren. I mean, this is one of the best assemblages of talent in a passing game in the NFL. So if he's just incrementally better in terms of accuracy, processing, execution, then those guys can add a lot of value onto that, especially because you're still loading up to stop Jonathan Taylor. And that's the point of the spear. And then with Anthony Richardson, you're doing 11 on 11 football. So I guess we have to be open to Shane Steichen having fun with this group with really two more tools to chisel away at a defense. And also knowing that for your dynasty leagues, Adonai Mitchell could be on track to hit his best case scenario, just maybe with another team or another quarterback.
Yeah, another situation. But what I always say, declaration of influence, and Taylor's going to influence you to not really pay attention to those wide receivers. So
Yeah.
we'll see how that goes. Not a surprise that Tory Horton is a player. Now, maybe this offseason we haven't talked about him enough. Maybe during the draft recaps, we haven't talked about him enough. But when I write at the Football Guys newswire, and check it out at footballguys.com, it's free daily newsletter. And I was writing just yesterday about the failures of Marcus Valdes-Scantling and the emergence of Tory Horton. Yeah, word's out. Horton's making plays.
It looked like Valdes-Scantling was starting to, I don't want to say swirl around the drain, but become more of a journeyman last year. Then with the Saints, he had a bit of a resurgence, and he parlayed that into a contract to play a specific role for the Seahawks, which the role he's been playing all of his career. Field stretcher, inconsistent, but somebody at least that can force defenses to account for his deep speed. And with Cooper Kupp, who's not forcing defenses to account for his deep speed, you could see Valdes-Scantling getting on the field in 3 wide receiver sets. But now Horton, this is a guy, he's saying he was banged up going into the draft. We haven't really seen the best of him. And it's not difficult now to picture him overtaking Valdes-Scantling for that number 3 receiver job. And let's face it, with Cooper Kupp in the autumn, maybe winter of his career, he could get on the field, Horton, in a big role faster than anybody expects. So in dynasty leagues, he was an afterthought. Maybe even in redraft leagues, we can put him on the waiver wire watch list. And this is something that can help Sam Darnold in a somewhat pessimistic situation. as the Seahawks offensive line did not do the best job protecting Geno Smith last year.
Yeah, not the best job. And Sam Darnold under pressure is what? Bad.
Yeah. I ain't afraid of no ghosts.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be Ghostbusters up there in the Northwest before you know it. What about with Matthew Golden? Now, we didn't want to completely do a rookie show, and we're not. There's another player that's not a rookie we'll talk about. But Matthew Golden, with that speed, certainly has the heart of cheeseheads everywhere.
And it seems like, Cease, the unanimous reports, it's Green Bay. It's that upper Midwest stoicism. You're not going to get people gushing about him. You're not going to get a lot of demonstrative takes. What you're just hearing is he's a professional. He's everything we expected. He's going to have the impact that we expected. And we saw that Christian Watson in this offense, in the spread around no new real number one receiver offense, still gave you those spike weeks to be a nice wide receiver 3 flex. And no reason Golden can't do that this year. Now, Watson is a bit of a monkey wrench himself, who doing well potentially back on the field by midseason, but we're worried only about that 4 to 6 week window to open the season. And potentially, hopefully, it's not just Matthew Golden, who you can get in the 7th, 8th, 9th round. It's Jaden Reed, who you can get in the 7th, 8th, 9th round. Things could open up for him. Tucker Kraft, a little bit later, things can open up for him. Even Jordan Love as a late round quarterback. Remember, we were taking Jordan Love as quarterback 9, quarterback 10, quarterback 11, coming off of his strong finish to 2023. It didn't materialize last year, but if it does this year, Matthew Golden will be a big reason why. So, again, and there's another larger storyline emerging here, Cease. Is the NFC North going to become a shootout division? Is this going to become a division with these young quarterbacks, with these offensive minds, that really becomes a multiplier factor for all of the offensive players in this division? Because now we look at these games maybe not as defensive struggles, but as showcases for offensive minds and young quarterbacks.
Yeah, showcases where we're going to be paying attention and we're going to be watching every situation closely, including situations where the guy's not participating. And James Cook. Now, it's players we can't stop talking about, Bloom. So it should be like players we're super excited about. And the last one I am so excited about. I'm urging everyone to finish their drafts, if you can, with the next player we're going to talk about, but not this guy. This guy's just got to start with a contract. When Brandon Beane, the Bills GM, was like, I get it. I understand it. Pay the man. Kyron Williams got paid. James Cook isn't getting paid. Not yet, Bloom. How's this work out?
I think that with these Holden situations, we should expect something to get done. And we should continue to draft James Cook in the 4th round. We see him there in the 5th round. Go ahead and pounce. Because, like you said, Cease, that data point of Kyron Williams getting $11 million a year. Now, just like we're seeing with the Terry McLaurin situation, which I would also apply that analysis. You see McLaurin in the 4th, 5th round, pounce. He's more of a 3rd round pick. They'll get something worked out. But unfortunately, these data points are coming in so that the player is going to lose, or at least the player's going to have to back down, because now you have a hard data point. James Cook has not outperformed Kyron Williams. And if Kyron Williams took $11 million a year, if whatever the Bills are offering, if it's close to that, he needs to take it. And even if he doesn't take it, it's something that can move the situation forward, because he now has incontrovertible evidence that, hey, if the Bills won't budge, the market's been set, and he's just going to have to play his cards next year in the open market. So I still think Ray Davis is an interesting player as his role could grow. He showed last year that he can handle things when James Cook is out. And also, I remember, Cease, there was some buzz around that game that the Bills believed that Ray Davis could do that. Maybe as a precursor to, they're just, sometimes teams have clarity and they say, we're just not going to pay a player because we have the next guy coming up and we're going to let someone else pay him. Right. I don't know if that's where the Bills are. They could certainly add in some incentives and do some things to sweeten the pot and show James Cook he's appreciated while not committing money to him on that dreaded second running back contract. But yeah, I think that we have to talk about this, and people are going to keep talking about this because the plot has thickened or sharpened with Kyron Williams. Cease, because Kyron Williams is so happy with the Rams and the Rams are happy with him and they're all happy with the contract terms, it could make James Cook more unhappy.
Exactly. So happy together. I almost went sing-songy. Haven't had my coffee yet, Bloom,
How
but
is the weather?
I can definitely sing a song about Jacory Corskey-Merritt. He's the guy. He's the guy. I want everyone to leave their draft with their last pick being Jacory Corskey-Merritt. And there's drafts where you won't be able to get him with your very last pick. I know when we do Fessel OG Bloom, guess who I'm taking? And now
In the 11th round.
now I can't take him with my last pick, as I've done with Philip Lindsay and others. Every year I try to get that cutesy, late round. Here's the guy. Maybe it's Brashard Smith. Maybe I'll get them both. You can't get those rookie running backs from me. But JCM, balanced vision, saw it all at the Shrine Bowl. His college transfer story is one of nightmares, by the way. And JCM, one of those guys, is just there to work, there to impress, already getting first team reps with the Commanders. As of this recording, we don't know yet the future of Austin Eckler, but they might just decide Brian Robinson and JCM are the guys, and this is our backfield moving forward. And on that offense, again, influence. You're going to really worry about the backs when Jaden Daniels is out there? You're going to worry about that passing game and Daniels as a rusher. Like JCM with everything he can do, receiver, runner, balance, vision. Yeah, Jacory Corskey-Merritt. He's my guy.
Yeah, and see, it's the drum beat. It is the Cecil Lammey drum beat. And that's why he's a player that we need to really pay close attention to. And like you're saying, Cease, reserve a late round pick for him. All of the observers have been impressed. And then with the coaches giving him more work, moving him up the depth chart, more time with the starters in practice, they're obviously impressed. And then we've been talking about this from the moment they drafted him in the 7th round. When you think about going through the same drills and what Jacory Corskey-Merritt has in terms of juice compared to Brian Robinson, we heard a lot going into the draft, going into free agency, that Washington maybe wanted to add to their backfield, add some burst, add some playmaking ability. We didn't see a big splash. We thought, well, maybe by default, Brian Robinson was banged up last year. Maybe there'll be some more there for him, or at the very least, he'll get those cheap rushing touchdowns. But now we have to really be open to the possibility. And since you mentioned Brashard Smith, he's absolutely another one. We're already seeing the same thing happen with Kyle Monangai, maybe moving ahead of Rashawn Johnson. These 7th round running backs, and hey, if Kenneth Walker can't stay on the field, Damian Martinez is now more interesting. These 7th round running backs, things don't happen in fantasy football incrementally. Okay, it isn't like a slow motion car crash where you can see it happening frame by frame. It's one way, and then the player gets on the field and shows what he can do, and then it's the other way. And Jacory Corskey-Merritt is all of a sudden the lead back in this backfield because he's irresistible. His talent's irresistible. And I think the bottom line people need to take out of this, again, is we hyped up this rookie running back class. Now, the draft, they got distributed like a typical decent to good running back class. But the maybe that buried the lead, which is 7th round running backs in this year's class are as good as 4th round running backs in most classes, and 4th round running backs, Bucky Irving, can take over backfields.
Pay attention out there. And we are here for you. And we love you guys. 20 years of the Audible here. And we certainly appreciate you all for listening to our podcast, the audio version, however you enjoy your podcast, watching us here on our YouTube channel. Make sure to support all of Football Guys' YouTube channels, and make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you never miss a vid. He is Sigmund Bloom. You follow him on all the socials at Sigmund Bloom. I am at Cecil Lammey. The show is at the Audible, saying watch these other videos that may or may not pop up, and stay tuned. And as always, sing your song and stay frosty.
You're a shining star.